It's your girl, Professor Cinephile, and I am going to talk about the new film Bob Marley One Love, or some people are calling it One Love for short. Okay, let's get into it. I went to see this film the other day. I saw it when it came out, and I was actually looking forward to it, right? When I saw the trailer, I was like, oh, finally a film about Bob Marley. I grew up listening to him, love his music, love his message, and I was just like, hey, However, I always pay attention to what, people are saying and people were watching it, and some people were loving the representation and loving the film. Other people were saying it was really bad. I remember the editor-in-chief of Rolling Stone said it was unwatchable. I was like, what? And I always get critical of I'm just gonna say it when white people watch black films. I just do like okay, yes, we can all have our universal opinions on things, but I know as somebody who deeply studies this stuff that, there tends to be a lot of racial bias against films about Black people, especially when the reviewers are white and when they're men, right? So we know how the Academy works, we know how Hollywood works, we know how all that is. So I take all of their reviews with a grain of salt. I did see a number of Jamaican people saying that they had issues with it. They didn't like it. They thought it was trash. I was like, have y'all seen it? Like, it's just from the trailers. I also saw a lot of people happy that there was representation for Rastafarians, right? Like this is, if you know anything about the experiences that Rastas have had, they have faced a lot of discrimination, a lot of erasure, things like that. So I saw some people talking about how proud they were to have that, depiction on there. A lot of complaints about Ziggy Marley and the Marley family and exploitation, also stuff that I have nothing to do with, and I have no like I'm not plugged in or what have you. All I'm going to talk about today is the film itself and my opinion of what went down. Okay. So, I am biased. I love musical biopics. I really do. They rarely go wrong, completely wrong with me unless I'm just like, what the hell was this? So I'm already going in, looking forward to it. Um, it was really, really enjoyable. It's one of those films you can sit there. It has a very good, feel-good spirit about it. I know a lot about Bob Marley. I've studied him before, and I've learned a lot about his life and his legacy. A lot of people forget the man was only like 36 when he died. He died of cancer. Excuse me. He was someone who touched the hearts of people all around the world, sold out shows around the world, and he had this message of love. He had this message of unity. He had this message of revolution, and that was, why he was often seen as a threat. So the film starts in 1976. By then, he's had a gang of kids. Um, Bob Marley, I think they claim like 11 kids, but people don't know for sure if that's only the number that he had. I know one year he had three kids in one year by three different women. It gets into that. The movie does touch on the fact that he's got kids all over the place. And that the ones outside of Rita are like with white women. They don't really dig too much into that part, but they do talk about the fact that he has a gang of kids. So it starts in 1976. He's supposed to be doing this concert, this kind of unity concert, because there's a lot of turmoil in Jamaica, and they focus a lot on that. They talk about the political corruption, how Jamaica was, the Jamaicans were living in fear of not only politicians who were white, but, gang leaders and gangs on the streets and stuff like that. It was a really tough time. This was the late 70s. And you got to remember, there's a lot going on in the world in the late 70s. South Africa, the students are rising up against apartheid. United States, we have the Vietnam War and Black Power movement. There's just a lot of kind of this political action happening around the world, where the people who have been oppressed are coming up. So this is where the film is set. Okay. So what I really liked about the film. I liked Lashana Lynch. I'm a big fan of hers. I feel like she grows with everything we see her in. I thought that she really gave voice to Rita, Rita Marley, who was Bob Marley's wife. And I think that for people who are just not plugged in to that family and their music and things like that, they don't get a sense much of who Rita was. So I really like that she brought this humanity to her. I thought Kingsley Ben-Adir, I think that's how you pronounce his name. I thought he did a decent job of Bob. I thought I liked seeing him on film. I really like how he captured the nuances of Bob's performance because Bob like always had this like erratic dancing style, and I thought that Kingsley he captured that pretty well. Um, I like that there was a lot of local casting. I love the songs, how the songs that they chose to weave into the story. We got to see all different kinds of performances of the different songs, which actually I really like this. A lot of times musical biopics will focus just on like concert performances or things on stage, but we got to see like the process of him making these songs. We got to see him performing them acoustic. We got to see, just kind of like what his musical process was, which is not something I think a whole lot of people had information about. So that was a really good thing. I liked that they kind of touched on the little polyamorous aspect of Bob and Rita's relationship. For those who don't know, yes, Bob had children outside of their relationship, but Rita also did. And there's a scene there, and it's got this hint of it. And if you blink, you will miss it. If you're not looking for it, you won't get it. But there's this really great scene where they're all working and they're practicing and what have you. And then Rita is like, she's like, do you need me for anything this evening? And he's like, no, no. He's like, you got to go take care of some business. And she's like, yeah, yeah, man. And she kind of leaves. It wasn't a bad kind of thing, but it was almost a suggestion of it. And because I know that it's 1976 and because I know that what she was doing and when she had that outside baby, I was like, oh, so maybe he was okay with it. Maybe he knew about it or what have you. But then they kind of loop it back later and he seems like he was bothered. But he's like, I even took in the kid you had by somebody else, She's like, I took in all the ones that you did. So it was a little really interesting. But I thought that that was a little bit of a nod to what I've always suspected was kind of like they had this foundational relationship where they were each other's heart and love, but they knew each other was seeing other people. Like, I thought that was pretty cool. Um, so you get to hear War, you get to hear Redemption Song, you get to hear Turn Your Lights Down Low, Exodus, I Shot the Sheriff, some like his classic songs, right? Three Little Birds, you get a little hint of that. You get to see his children. You get to see kind of you know what it reminded me of? If you saw Bohemian Rhapsody, there's a little bit of that in there, like the kind of how they focused on him and some of the personal aspects of his life. If you saw Bohemian Rhapsody and you like that, it's definitely reminded me of that. Not quite as good as Rocket Man, but it reminded me of that. It was really just great to see Jamaica. So that was awesome. A couple of things I didn't like, and this is just an ongoing thing that I have. We have to talk about, this kind of intra-diaspora cross kind of acting and things like that. One of the complaints that people had was that, why did they have a Jamaican man play Bob Marley when Kingsley is British, right? But so many Black British people have family that come from Jamaica, right? If you know the history of the Windrush, we know that Caribbeans were leaving, that area and going to England and London specifically. And so many of the people now, one or two generations after that, they have their roots in Jamaica. That's where their families are. That's where they spend a lot of time there. So I think that there's a nuance there that perhaps we overlook when we have those conversations. We also know that a lot of Black British people are, West African, right? A lot of Nigerian, Ghanaian, things like that. We have had the conversations about African Americans playing, Forrest Whitaker played Idi Amin, I think Morgan Freeman, did he play Nelson Mandela or something like that? Like, I just feel like there's been a lot of exchange. But then we also have like South African, actresses playing enslaved people. We have British Black people playing enslaved people. So there's been a lot of conversation around that. I do think for a biopic, like a biopic, however you pronounce it, I think that we should try to be a little more authentic with that. And I would have liked to see a Jamaican actor. But, Ziggy says that he was the best person, and then they say that they tried, but I don't know if Jamaicans are buying it or not. Um, I thought the pacing was good. I thought that um, the performance scenes I thought could have been a little bit better. Like when they were on the stage, like I like the subtle ones when he's in the house and he's playing, or you can see his writing process. But I just feel like when they were on the stage, I felt like those performances could have been a little bit better. Um, but overall, I really enjoyed this film. I really, really did. Some other people, again, I don't have a lot of the insight that maybe some other folks may have. Um, when I was in the film, there was a lady there at the end, and she came up to me and she was like, "Are you Jamaican?" And I was like, and she was like, "Oh, that was trash. It was trash. Those Rastas out there, they're trash." I was like, okay, like I don't know what's going on. All I can talk about is my experience watching the film. I thought that there were some moments that definitely kind of made me emotional. Again, I love Bob Marley and the Wailers. I love their music. I love the message that they were bringing forth. I love what they were trying to do for cultural unity, for world unity. So yeah, there were some parts that were just sad for me because I was just like, this man died at 36 of cancer, and it could have been treated, earlier. That's a whole other story. But I really feel like we got a lot of the truth about Bob Marley, that maybe some things that people didn't know before. And I thought it was a really good job. I'm gonna give it, oh boy. I'm teetering between 3.5 and 4 Purple Hearts. I'm just gonna give them 4 Purple Hearts for the black because that's what we do over here. So I'm giving Bob Marley One Love 4 Purple Hearts. I am recommending that you go see it. Definitely check it out, support it. I think at the very least, if you like Bob Marley, you'll enjoy hearing the music, and you'll enjoy the trip down memory lane.